Within each and every role player lives this homeless character who wants nothing more than to quiet the heartbeat of every living thing that stands in his way. Today we celebrate this all too familiar character with...
Well now, looky here. It's the Murder Hobo Show.
It's frickin' showtime, buddy. It is frickin' showtime. Hey. Let's smash out the old main screen that we got going on here and crack out the old show notes. Welcome to the Murder Hobo RPG show, episode 19, Dueling Hobos. That's going to be me and you, Jay. We're going to be dueling, and we're both hobos. Excellent. Recorded, I don't even know what day it is. I do know what day it is. It's Canada Day, July 1st, 2020. I'm one of your hosts.
Not a real holiday.
Not for Americans, but for us Canadians, right?
Yep.
10%.
Speaking of, yep, July 4th, baby.
Coming up this weekend.
Got to celebrate. Also, if we're going to start streaming this, I need to start breaking out the old masks, you know?
Well, you got a face for a mask, I just want to say.
Exactly, man. I got a face for podcasting. And I got a voice for silent movies.
Nice. Well, don't be so hard on yourself. You're kind of a pretty fella.
Well, thank you, man. You're not so bad. You're not so bad yourself.
Let's not fucking blow smoke up each other's ass here. we both know we're fat, old, ugly dudes.
Maybe that's what we need to do so we don't have any digestive issues, is have some smoke blown up our ass, like some healing, like smoke.
I got...
hold on.
I got some water, and I got some baking soda, or baking powder. Because it works like an antacid. I didn't have anything kicking around. My guts were churning. I was drinking last night because it's Canada Day. So yeah, I'm Gary, a.k.a. the Murder Hobo, otherwise known as Major IBS. And I'm here with this fella on that side of the screen, Uncle J. Rass, a.k.a. Captain Colin.
Hey, man. Thanks. How you doing?
Is that your wrestling name?
Captain Colin. Oh, yeah. That's, in fact, that I had to throw on the name. Actually, be like Captain USA Colin or something like that.
Yeah. Would you, if there was a guy whose name was Captain Colin, would you ever wrestle him?
Probably not.
Right. I'm kind of thinking that might be a guy.
This guy wins by forfeit.
You know he's going to roll into the ring and his booty's going to be clapping.
Right.
All right. This is a podcast about role-playing games. And as usual, we're going to ramble incoherently in an attempt to sound like we know what we're talking about and hope you don't call us on our bullshit.
That's right. We're going to talk about the World of Lazarus, which is a setting and a comic book, which is covered in Age by Green Ronin. And I guess people say it Ronin, but I just say it Ronin. That's what it looks like. And, you know, I ain't got time for that.
Age is my favorite system you never let me play.
No, this is, I think that's why I wanted to cover it, because I wanted to throw this at you and see what you thought. Because you played the Dragon Age a little bit, and Dragon Age, there was something in there that, you know, stuck in your craw a little bit, and I wanted to ask you about that some more. But this one I wanted to talk about, too, because one of our good friends, your good friend and mine, Eric Lamoureux, brought it up, and I decided to revisit it, which made me happy. And also, too, we're going to talk about the new rules to duel in Deadlands. And you know, I remember back so long ago when I got into Deadlands, and you guys were doing the Wild Die podcast, and you talked about dueling extensively for Deadlands Reloaded, and I think it was you that, you know, because you talked about how cool they were, it made me want to really take a deep dive into those rules. They were, it's just like you said, they were a little kind of like complex at that time, but you just went to one certain page and it was all laid out for you.
Yes.
But they streamlined everything now for the new Deadlands, the Weird West setting. So we were going to go ahead and fire that up and check out the new rules for that. Damn straight.
Yeah, we're going to compare the old ones with the new ones, see if they simplified them or made them worse. We'll have a peek at that, and then we got a little surprise there, Jay. You shouldn't read these show notes, because you know what? I think if you read them, don't scroll down and read the part that I added. I got myself dueling in Deadlands 20 taunts. So, you know, things you can say to your partner to taunt him or you know, make him shit his britches a little bit. Right. So we're gonna go over those.
We won't. I won't look further into the show notes. I'll worry about what we got going on.
We'll go over those. Jay will rate me on a scale of 1 to fail. And hopefully I fall in there somewhere and we get them done. So that said, what have you been up to, Jay? You got anything going on this week? What's been happening in the gaming world? We're wrestling Sunday, right?
Yeah, we're gonna wrestle this Sunday. We got everything cleared up. It is a holiday weekend, but I'm not doing anything. In fact, it's the day after. I mean, there may be some people that are, might be hung over here on this side of the pond, the next day. But like, strip, man, they need to get up and they need to get going so we can wrestle.
Yeah.
Sunday morning.
You said you got everything cleared up. That trip to the doctor was successful. You got some pills, some medications, some vaccinations.
Well, I ain't going anywhere, man. I'm trying to socially distance. That's why I got my mask on.
Yeah.
So,
I was just.
But anyway.
Hoping
but
you
no, that was I was talking to the doctor like via Zoom or telehelp, and he says, "I just put some cream on it." I'm like, all right.
what kind of cream? Vasa cream, mayonnaise. Did he tell you to put mayonnaise on it?
No, man. Mayonnaise does not come anywhere near this body, dude.
It tastes good.
Body's a temple.
I like putting mayonnaise on my wieners.
Well, here's the thing, man. Like mayonnaise used to be fine up until when I used to work in a restaurant. And I went to go clean a bottle one time and open it up, and it was mayonnaise that went bad. And I went right out. I went right out in the back, and I hurled. Man, it was one of the grossest things I'd ever smelled in my life, and I couldn't get that smell out of my nose. And ever since then, man, I've never been able to like really just stomach mayonnaise or mayonnaise based stuff.
Like eggs, mayonnaise or eggs is a mayonnaise based product.
Yeah, well, actually, like I love fried eggs and scrambled eggs, but like boiled eggs and mayonnaise, oh my god, that's like my kryptonite, dude. Like, I'm starting to get sick.
Wow. Look.
Yeah, egg salad is like the worst to me.
We got Matt Stark and Eric Lamoureux in the chat already. They came to see if we're going to make fun of him tonight. And Eric's already giving me shit because I'm doing show prep for my show. Take that, Lamoureux. Somebody's got to do it. Might as well be me.
Yeah, I guess I got to pull up and see what these guys are saying and saying on Twitch.
Nothing important, I can tell you that much. Okay. Screw those guys. So yeah, we got some wrestling on Sunday. We got to do that. I just finished up my, I didn't even finish it up, man. Game timing. One of these days, Lamoureux, we're going to have to talk about timing a game because I botched so horribly in our last game. It was insane. All we had left to do was one scene. Oh, excuse me. I'm a little gassy because the old, I was drinking last night. But that said, our game started off with just one scene left to do. All we had to do was go to the this Y-shaped island of lizard men, and then while we were there, we were just going to blast them all and rescue the people that they had captured and stuff like that. But I thought to myself, this isn't going to take that long. This isn't going to be a long scene. Holy crap! So I'm like, let's try and make some stuff up on the fly. The party was in a swamp, so I thought to myself, let's put in some giant toads, because that's always cool when you're just rafting along and then suddenly you get sucked off your raft by a giant toad. That sounded horrible if you think about it in sexy terms. But have you ever been sucked off by a giant toad, Jay?
No, man, no.
You don't spend much time in the swamps?
No, man. I try to avoid swamps.
Yeah, back to the show. So yeah, it's the weirdest thing because I put this in as an extra sort of just sort of like a fluff, a little bit of a time filler kind of a thing. And man, my game ended up going 4 hours, and I was just like, I just wanted it to be done. Not the game, but I just wanted this adventure to be done. And by adding that one little scene, just took an hour, and it was like I couldn't calculate the time that it was going to take me to finish what I was doing. And so, yeah, we ended up going 4 hours on that game. I'm a 3 hour time slot kind of guy. And then unlike Lamoureux, I don't do the cut and run. I like to, find a peaceful spot to make a tranquil, acquisition from point A to point B.
Yeah.
Didn't happen. Do you?
No. Yeah, I understand where you're coming from. I do.
And one of these days, we'll have to put together some show notes about how to time a game because I duffed it massively.
That's a good one.
Yeah,
man. That's always, it's just like with balance and some things. It's a gut feeling, man. There's no hard and fast, I think, way to do anything unless you're unless you have something that you've been running solid, or unless something you've written and exactly how it breaks down. But if this is the first time you're running it, man, you can never gauge how long it's going to be.
You ever see those chess fools that do the time chess thing? You stare at the board, you move your piece, and then slap the timer. I'm almost thinking of implementing a rule like that, maybe just to keep the game on track, keep things going the way I want them to go. The train has to depart the station on time, and it also needs to arrive at the same time.
Yeah.
Right? Otherwise, you just have an unruly mess, and it just ends up in a train crash.
Yep. And you like your trains to run a specific way, in a specific time, a specific order. I mean, otherwise it's not a railroad. It's just chaos. We're not having chaos in Garyland, are we?
We're not having any chaos. People have things to do.
Garyland.
Right? People have things to do. It's Sunday. It's 7 a.m. my time. Our game ends at 10. So it's, for the East Coasters, that's 1 o'clock in the afternoon. That's lunchtime, man. It's time to feast. Feast or famine. Start having a beer, getting ready for the barbecue. Mm-hmm. I'm telling you, man, it was horrible. Canada Day. Went out last night, loaded up the minivan, took my wife out to Sunshine Valley, did a little camping, and a little too much drinking. I'm feeling the effects of it today. We didn't get home till 3:30, something like that. And then I unpacked and made some dinner, and now here I am, ready to roll, ready to rock the show. Really,
I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're here and ready to go.
I'm just
professional as always.
I feel like I'm hoping you're going to carry the show for me today.
Yeah, no problem, man. I'll see what I can do. I mean,
You ready for this?
I'm a little used to it.
Okay, well, let's smash.
Carrying somebody.
Well, I'm a big dude, so you better put your back brace on.
Yeah, that's what I got to do. Let me hold on. Let me stretch real quick.
All right.
Me. All right.
You do your all right. Here we go. I'm going to hit this button here. Then we're going to crank the volume down a little bit, and then we're slowly going to fade this sucker out to nothing, and then I don't have to do this in the show transitions, which is my favorite part. So, what are we talking about today, Jay? What is the World of Lazarus? You're going to carry the show. You're going to fill me in. You're going to tell me what this stuff is all about, because I have no idea.
Man, that's no problem, and I'm glad that you spilled the beans right out there. The rest of the world, they got something called kayfabe, where they keep all the secrets, hidden between the performers, and they don't reveal that to the audience. We need to start establishing some kayfabe between me and you, where you don't just blurt out everything, that goes on behind the scenes. Like, I don't know what's going on. You're supposed to, present yourself like you do.
Oh, today's just not the day for me to pretend like I'm professional. So
you're just like, oh, fuck it. I'm gonna like three seconds away from hurling. Just one fart away from shat in my pants. So yeah,
right.
I get you. No sit back, rub your tummy a little bit, think about drinking some Pepto-Bismol.
Okay, I'm gonna
sit back and let Uncle Jay tell you a story about the World of Lazarus.
You do that. I'm gonna go talk to Lamaroo in the chat.
All right. So our friends over at Green Ronin and Age, and like I said, for all intents and purposes, I call it Green Ronin. I don't know if it's Green Ronin or whatever, but I apologize. It's Ronin to me. But over there, when they released Modern Age, and I want to say that was released roughly about the early spring of last year. This was this setting was released along with it, and it's called the World of Lazarus, and they tout it as a dystopian near future setting for Modern Age, and Modern Age being the modern equivalent of Fantasy Age, and Age stands for the adventure game engine, and that's run by Green Ronin. It's 3D6 system. I like it. Told you about it. You said, all right, I want to check out some Fantasy Age. I said, all right, maybe I'll run some for you sometime. You've been harping on me for that for forever. You got to play some Dragon Age with your buddy Digital Dave.
Still waiting for that game, by the way.
What's that? Oh, the game that I'm going to run. Well, here, we'll talk about that. I mean, it's like you're more of a fantasy guy, so you just want to ingest as much fantasy you can. So I'm going to equate like your love of fantasy is probably, very similar to your love of Burger King, where you can eat it all the time and, you're going to, it's what you're used to.
I do love me some Whopper Wednesday. Yep. Whopper Wednesday, man. It should be a national holiday. I like a weekly national holiday.
Now, hopefully the Burger Kings over across the border are a little bit better on that side than they are here, because nobody really eats a Burger King over here. Nobody touts them as good. Nobody's like, oh man, I went to Burger King and had an excellent burger. Nobody says that over here. It's like KFC. Nobody really has like a great meal.
Have you seen the state of your country lately?
Well, that's what I'm trying to. I got hope, man. I got to have hope.
All right. So
if you don't have any hope, man, all is lost. And I try to be a hopeful motherfucker, man.
That's 100% Canadian ground beef there, buddy. That's all the difference in the world. Once we import it or export it into the States, that beef just goes for shit. You got to come up to Canada and have one of them suckers.
I might have to try it. I mean,
never mind the burgers, Jay. Tell me about this World of Lazarus. What are we doing in this thing? What is the point of this game? I see we got some weird looking lady with a bullet in her head. There's some medieval looking mutated barbarian guy with a skull and a mace. The cover of this thing's pretty top notch, which I did, by the way. I don't know if you can see it or not, but I brought up the PDF of it and I put it right between the two of us, so people don't have to look at our ugly mugs. They can check out the The World of Lazarus.
nice.
Right, yeah, there you go. See that? What do you think of that action? So by the looks of this is like a multi-genre kind of a setting.
No, not really. Just what it is the best way that I can describe this. It's sort of like now. I gotta get in my Gary mode here so I can and that's and what I talk about what Gary mode is to me is where I'm going to use something that you're familiar with to tie in what I'm talking about with.
I feel like you're just going to say whatchamacallit a lot.
Did you ever see Game of Thrones?
Yep.
Did you ever watch Game of Thrones?
Watched them all.
Watched it all to the bitter end. Me too, man. And my love of Game of Thrones was like like that. So There you go. It was like 4th season and then 5th season and then the last 2 seasons were just utter trash.
When I retire, I'm hoping to get a job being the guy that applies the fake crotch hair to the ladies.
Oh yeah, so you're going to be the Merkin? Merkin
that's
master?
Right. I'm working. I'm going to school to be the Merkin master.
Do you know the Merkin man? That's what just came up. So that's your jingle. You're Morty the Merkin man.
How'd you like that to be your job, Jay? You get to place the Merkins on all the time.
It's a living, man. It's been worse. Imagine. I think one of the worst jobs you could have is the guy who cleans bowling shoes. Does that guy still have a job now?
I don't know.
People going. I guess people can bowl. Maybe I don't know.
Eric's asking if Lazarus is a game about zombies or is it biblical?
No, it's actually a game about Lazarus, and I'll go into detail about that. He wants us to get us back on track here because we'll talk about other stuff. Lazarus is the best way I can represent it. Let's talk about Game of Thrones. Think about Game of Thrones in roughly about let's say about 100 years from now, where the world has been broken off. Something really bad happened, and they in the comic book. See, this is a tie-in. This is an RPG tie-in from a comic book called Lazarus, and so they worked with Greg Rucka, the writer, and the artist Michael Lark to tie it in with the RPG to tie it in with Green Ronin's publication of this. But what happens in the world of Lazarus is 65 years from the time the comic book takes place, something really bad happened. They never go into detail. Some sort of apocalypse. Maybe a virus went around. They don't go around. They don't go around and specify. But the world had to do something. The governments all failed, and so the 16 most powerful families in the world pretty much cordoned off the world and said, "All right, this is ours. This is ours. This is yours. This is yours. This is ours." And so imagine 16 families running the world.
Now the Bezos, one of those families, or the Trumps?
And it's sort of like different families, and the different houses in Game of Thrones. Same principle here. Like the Carlisle family represents the western half of North America. The Hawk family represents the eastern half of North America, and there's no Canada is included in that too, bud. So we're all mixed in.
So who's running the show from Canada?
There's no Canada anymore.
No,
it's Carlisle territory.
Is that who it is?
It's North America. What's
so
that?
I see that they got the different names of the people in here. You got the Carlyles, you got the Hawks, Armitage, Bittners, Carragers, but I don't see Trump and I don't see Bezos. What happened to those guys? Because in 2026, Bezos is going to be the first trillionaire on the planet.
If anything, he would probably represent the Carlyles. But the Carlisle, the family, each family represents a sort of tech. They sort of corner the market on a different technology, and that's what makes them so wealthy and powerful. And that's why they were able to possess or take control of different parts of the world. Because the Carlyles, they represent a lot of genetic, or they corner the market in genetic mutation. So that's how they're big and powerful. In fact, a lot of their stuff is a lot of their money comes from this various genetic mutation. And as you'll find out later when I go and talk about what the Lazari are and what the where Lazarus comes from, what they can do with all that stuff. But essentially, to boil this down, to give you this this thing in a nutshell, it's a dystopian future. But it's neo-feudalistic, which means there's feudal states, just like there was a medieval. So it's like a medieval futuristic setting.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. So how you have various kingdoms, in different medieval settings and whatnot. That's the same principle here. It's just like the Carlisles are the kingdom. It's the kingdom of this side of North America. The Hawks manage this side of North America. The Bittners, they manage Central Europe.
Interesting. There's a nice list on page. What are we on here? Page 66. That sort of tells you what the families, their specific or particular areas of scientific or technological specialization. Like you're saying, the Carlyles are into biology, earth science, medicine, and piloting. And then it sort of breaks down all the other families into their specific groups. Now, when you're playing this game, do you play a member of one of these families? Is that how it works? Or are you just like Joe Schlub in the street?
Well, it's funny you mentioned that too, because they have it the way that they have it broken down here in the setting book is, and also too, I just want to lay out this too, so because you're not really a Joe Schmo in this world. The way that society is broken down, it's like there's a totally new caste system. All right, there's family, which are the family members that represent each part of the world now. I just think like a few years ago they were talking about the 1% or whatever, but these people are so wealthy. It's sort of like in a world like now where there's only 3.5 billion people, it's about 200 people in the world that own all the wealth. So like the 0.0000.1%, and that's family. So these are the higher echelon of people. Now the family, they have people that work for them. Of course, you're going to have talented. The family's going to. These people are going to have people work for them, and they're going to want to have talented and smart people work for them. So they hire people to as business administrators, as technicians, and everything like that. And they're pretty much serfs, just like it was in the old in the medieval days, where you would get where the lord would have people of his kingdom work for him, and they would be serfs, and they were entitled to like some benefits, like having a piece of land and shit like that. So you got the family up here, you got the serfs right in the middle because they work for the family and they're treated a little bit better. Everybody else is the waste, and these are the garbage people, just like you talked about, the Joe Schmoes. Everybody just left to their own devices.
It's where you'd find
they barely get fed. You know how in the Expanse, how in everybody on Earth is on they have that basic assistance, where it's where you get like a barely a place to stay, and you get like food, water, and that's about it.
Mm-hmm.
That same principle. Everybody else is like on the basic assistance, and they just barely live, and they just try to eke out a living, and it's really kind of hard scrabble, kind of life, and it's not real great.
They're going to be talking about starting that pretty soon. I heard from with the COVIDs, it's time to start doling out basic assistance and stuff. Yep. So that's the scummy area. That's where you'd find your Lamoureux and your Starks. Yeah,
that's probably where they'd reign. But you know what? Actually, because I'm gonna boost those guys up because they're all right, because I like them. I would actually, they actually have really good names. So I would imagine in my world that Lamoureux would have like he would maintain he'd be lord of like the Maritimes and Quebec and the Maritimes, all of that. Eastern Canada, the Lamoureux, he'd run all that stuff. He'd be the lord of the fish.
Matt Stark is
Stark would have all of the Midwest.
Speaking of Stark, you said this is for age. Which core book would I need?
Modern Age.
Modern Age. Eric answered the question for him, but I'm gonna make you do it just to make sure that you and Lamoureux are on the same page.
Yeah, I don't have it pulled up, and if you got the questions, just send them my way, and I'm happy to answer them. I just don't have the Twitch pulled up because I want to focus on.
So you got a world of 20 some odd families that are ruling the place. I see that they got 15. North America divided into different sort of zones and stuff like that. Obviously, it's been remapped, etc. What kind of adventures are we going to run in this world? Like, what are we doing? Are we doing subterfuge? Are we doing? Is that even a word? Are we doing corporate espionage?
Well, here's the thing. Which you can. I mean, there's a lot of things. There's a lot of good stuff you can mine, and you can play like this. You can sort of play like this as an XCOM game. Where you're part of the. Where your serfs working for the family, and you're set down to take out resistance, or it's the other way around, where you play as resistance fighters out to take out members of the family, where you're uplifted members of if you're waste that gets promoted, it's called lifted. And so you could be a lifted member who just decides that, all right, enough of this shit, and you join the resistance, and you're starting to rebel against the family. So you can have those sort of, adventures. You can have, there's, if you mix in some, mix in a little cyberpunk as far as like the technology, just think about it's sort of like, I would say like, all kinds of adventures, man. You just think about it, just different. You could have like these. Oh hell, let me get something to drink. Put me on a spot. Talk for a little bit. You didn't listen to me, dude. I should talk for a little bit. Are you there?
Yeah, it might help if I wasn't muted. I was talking, but being the adamant professional that I am, I had myself muted. The artwork in this looks fucking fantastic. I just want to say, the way that this thing is pieced together, the layout is pristine. It's pretty sharp looking.
Yep.
Yeah, it's not too shabby looking. How's the rule set?
They make a really pretty good. I tell
Yeah.
you what, yeah, Green Ronin's presentations as far as their books goes is really good. Now, what was that question that you threw out there at me, Captain?
I was going to say, how's the mechanics? So we're just using base modern age core rule books or core rule set, and we're good to go.
Yep, 3d6. You just roll 3d6. You get your doubles. If it's a success, you beat a target number. With your 3d6.
Is there specific stunts that you can do, like Lazarus specific stunts?
Oh yeah, in fact they give you new because it's a setting for age. It's funny, I almost said Savage Worlds.
You can't say.
I'm so deep in Savage. Well, I'm so deep in Savage Worlds a lot of the times.
Stop being so racist.
I have it on the brain.
Yeah, stop being so racist. You're not allowed to say savage anymore. So stop being so racist.
Right. Well, as far as like uncivilized worlds go, as far as uncivilized adventures go, I always have that on the brain. But now, just they actually have specific stunts, especially if you play if you play as a Lazari, or a Lazari, which are these are like the core pinnacle, or these are like champions of the families, and so these guys are like either adept at like espionage or something, or even like mental, supreme mental capabilities with some, with some different Lazari. But one of them, the comic book focuses on one Lazari, and that's Forever Carlisle, and she's essentially she's got like a healing factor like Wolverine, and she's actually been cloned like numerous times. But she's like the most important member, or the most powerful member, physically for the Carlisle family. And so you can actually get it. It gets into later on, like you scroll at the back in the index. It talks about you can actually play as how to play as a Lazari. So me, man, I like my superpowered stuff. So I delved right into this. So you actually get some more. You get some more abilities, and I do believe, you actually start getting special. Yeah, you get special stunts and whatnot if you look in the back there. So yeah, and there are. There are stunts. Let me see here if there are. Yeah, but there's all. They've added new gear and and some new features to take care of. Like, I don't think they really delve into like electromagnetic weapons and in modern age. But this one starts taking care of in like drones and cyber technology. Mm-hmm. So you start getting that sort of realm.
I'm trying to scroll through this.
One of the coolest things that kind of drew me to this is sort of like, if you wanted to have like a bunch of like adventure seeds to run like military / political thriller type operations, Age lets you do it. In fact, I know a lot of people there, and if you go pop your head over in the Green Ronin unofficial Discord. Well, actually, it's more official than anything now. They dropped their forums, and so I guess it's the official Discord now. So that's where everybody's going. They talk about too. Oh hell, I lost my train of thought because I was sitting here looking at the. But no, they.
You're sidetracked by pretty squirrel.
Yeah, no, I was sitting here looking at. I was getting ready to prep what I was going to say next, and I just lost my train of thought. But no, over there at the official Green Ronin Discord, to talk to the folks over there. They're wanting some. I think they're going to add some like little more little adventures, or that's what was going to go. Or they were going to talk about that later. But I came to find out. But what they're doing with this, and this kind of blew my mind too, is the new stuff that they're adding for this game is actually coming out in these new comic books that's tying in. In fact, they're making like these newer the new series that Lazarus is coming out. It's actually these like thicker comic books. I almost want to say they're like 100 pages worth. And in the backs of these, they have like 2 to 4 pages of like material that you can use for the game. And it's got the same trade dress and everything, man. It's got stat blocks and whatnot for it.
So this is post-apocalyptic. This takes place on Earth, right? Why do they call this book The World of Lazarus?
Well, Lazarus, they call it World of Lazarus because it's based on the comic book, which is called Lazarus.
Okay, I gotcha. So
Lazarus, I mean, and essentially, not to spoil anything, but Forever Carlisle keeps dying. Like in the first episode, the first series of the comic books, she keeps dying over and over. Then you find out because she can regenerate.
Gotcha.
So she's got super abilities, and that's kind of like kept secret. And that's what you kind of find out like later on. Like all of these the families have like these deep dark secrets, and these Lazarus. In fact, one of them's crazy that they don't ever want to talk about, and they keep one hidden away. So
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Is there cool technology and stuff like that you can get? Like, stuff that doesn't normally stick out. Usually when I like to read these books and you start scrolling through the weapons gear and armor and stuff like that, you'll find they got like plasma guns or, some kind of weird photon shooting explosive grenade that, affects your, makes your pee shrivel kind of a thing. Is there any kind of cool tech that you can get in this? Like I see on the cover here, you've got like jetpacks and stuff like that. So you can instead of parachutes and whatnot. I mean, that looks pretty sweet.
Oh, yeah, you got, in Rifts, they have, what is it they call the Samus armor? The winged armor and everything.
Yep.
Well, you get that it's called X-Era light armor. There's, you got to think as far as this will touch a lot of, it's not really gear porny, but it will, scratch that itch that you want, as far as different kind of gear and different elements. And that's what gives it sort of like that cyberpunk or that futuristic kind of feel, because the vehicles and the weapons are a little better than what we got right now, because you do have flying jetpack armor, and you do drone technology is another thing that you get to use. They talk about how you can manipulate drones. In fact, they go into drones a little more in detail in the comic book supplements that they have. You get that too, and also what's really interesting is they talk about just new IT, and they have the central nervous system interface, which is essentially a UI in your head.
Mm-hmm.
And
they had that
to manipulate that.
That was
and
in
it's got a whole different rules to manipulate computers and everything, different than the standard modern age rules.
Now, when you're reading it, does it equate to sort of what you see in Altered Carbon with that lady? She has the thing in her head and she can tune into the Wi-Fi and stuff like that and pick up things. I think she also contacts the hotel guy. What's Poe is his name, right? She uses that head thing to contact Poe and whatnot. Is it like that?
I've seen a little bit of Altered Carbon, not a whole lot, but yeah, that's exactly what it's like.
Man, could you imagine dialing into Lamoureux when he's having sex with his lady? All of a sudden you're seeing through his eyes. Or you're like, hello? Hello?
It's no, right now. Hanging up.
Matt is asking if there's an underlying plot point campaign in this book. And as I'm skimming through the table of contents, I see right here, there's a World of Lazerus adventure called The Rock on page 107. Looks like a bit of a short adventure. Did you get a chance to read that?
It's a little starter adventure, but no, there's not an overlying plot point campaign. There's just there's a whole bunch of adventure seeds, though. In fact, there's a whole page just full of adventure seeds that let you plot something off of that. In fact, I would say that Rock adventure that you're talking about is a good starting point to build off of, but no, there's not any overlying campaign. In fact, you can go to page 63. There's just a ton of adventure seeds.
Well, let's check out some of these adventure seeds. Where are they at? Yep. 36 Lazarus adventure seeds. Let's do it, Jay. Yep. Let's see how cool this is. All right, let's do it. Number 1. A survivalist group has managed to keep themselves alive and kicking out in the boonies since before the Macau Accords. The leader has isolated a deadly new disease to maintain their independence. Boom. So what are we going to go?
Cool as hell.
So how does your adventure break away from this little seed here? Because I'll do mine, you do yours, but you go first.
All right. So a survivalist group has managed to keep themselves alive. Boonies, their leaders isolated. So this is how this starts. You search for the families. You're going sent to take out that group. Before anything happens, but you come to find out that as you go in farther deeper, that the leader of this group actually has ties to the family. Actually, might be a rogue member of one of the families.
Nice. I like that. I'm thinking something along the lines of this guy's got this deadly new disease, and you're actually going to sneak in there, make contact with this guy, and pay him a lump sum of money in order for him to spread this disease against one of the other families. And if he's successful, you've got yourself a takeover that you can sort of work out in the back end.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's something too that I want to talk about. The families, they all have some sort of mutual sort of agreement, but behind the scenes, there's all kinds of backbiting and double dealing and everything. Just like Game of Thrones too, man. They smile, they smile up front while they're drinking wine, but secretly they're fucking, raiding somebody's castle and doing all this shit. I'm going to actually skip around here. I'm going to throw out a seed here.
Pick
I'm
number
going to
3.
jump down to number 10 here.
Number 10.
Number 10. Go undercover to infiltrate another family by passing through their lift testing, even if it means cheating to beat out people who would rightfully earn their opportunities. Like I said before, lift testing that's where they bring up the wasted. That's where they go through and they look because the families are always looking for people to, keep their, their personal economies going. And so they'll go out and they'll look for people out in the wasted to elevate, to bring them up to serf status. And so they're doing testing, and they do like these random lotteries.
Oh, that's interesting. I was looking at number 3. You require a blood sample from another family's Lazarus to solve a specific mystery. Yeah,
Or scientific mystery.
You're trying to find
pretty cool.
the mystery of who had sex with the family dog.
Oh, jeez.
What's your mystery? You don't have no better mystery.
As far as like to solve a mystery, you can find out like one of the family members, has a rare blood disorder, and it's starting to slowly die, and start, from all the different genetic modifications that's been going on, just sprung up in the bloodline somewhere, and now they're slowly starting to rot from the inside, and so they need to require a blood sample, maybe from the Carlisles, maybe old man Hawk is rotten from the inside.
Lame.
With all of his drug testing, and so they need to sneak. So Hawk is sending somebody into the Carlisles to see what they're doing.
Dude, we need to find out who's Bone and Scooby. That's all I'm saying. That's a much more interesting adventure, I think. Eric is saying Eric is asking if this setting is a one and done deal, or is it supported with adventure modules and supplements. Have you seen any other stuff for the World of Lazarus? Like
I said before, Lamoureux, the other stuff that is coming out in the comic book supplements. They're sort of like doing that for it. But as far as like the World of Lazarus goes, it is sort of like one and done. This is what you get, and they sort of add like these little extra modules with the comic books. As far as I've seen, I have not seen any written adventures for this yet. So I've asked around. So hopefully down the pike that they'll have a written module and they have some written adventures. But as it stands, it gives you enough to kind of go on to start your own stuff. But yeah, I wish there was something a little bit more. I wish there was a.
This is all potatoes, no campaign. Meat, right? All potatoes, no meat.
I wish there was like a campaign, like a bigger campaign to it. But I almost think that they haven't done this is because it's licensed and it ties in with a comic book, So they're just like giving you the seeds or whatever. So anything that you're going to do is not going to be canon anyway to the comic book.
How cool would it be to get your module written in a comic book format? That would be pretty sweet, right? You just have to look at the image paints, the cartoon paints, and it'd be a lot less reading, which is not my favorite.
Well, I mean. All right, Gary, let's be real here. This hobby consists of fucking reading. You can't get around not fucking reading.
Right. I do enough reading without having to read modules. I want audiobooks, audio modules. Lamoureux, I'm telling you, the next time G makes a supplement, I want it read by Eric Lamoureux.
I enjoy reading. Like I think it was Jones talking about it today, said he was tired of reading rule books. I really enjoy reading rule books. I should be reading other shit like, I don't know, sysadmin books, shit like to do my job on. But I'm like, I'd rather read. Give me another obscure RPG manual. I'll read the shit out of that all day long.
So what is it?
I'm glad I get to do this.
What is it about World of Lazarus that draws you to it? Like, where is your interest in this? Is it the trying to take down the leaders? Like, well, you play a Lazarus, right? So you're like sort of the serf in the family that goes out and just kicks the shit out of all the homeless people.
Well, I mean, there's so many different ways you can spin it. You can play as like a resistance fighter, whoever, just these people, these lifted people who just decided that they're tired of the way that things are going on, and they're going ahead and try to some way to like take down the families either externally or internally. And you can play as at serf level where you actually work for the families, or you can actually play at family level. And what would be pretty neat is when they have when. In fact, let's jump down to the Lazarus appendix, so you can hear, because if you play a Lazarus campaign in this, you play as like a series. It's like you play as like a series, or the whole group plays as like these special talented ass people. So it's pretty sweet.
What section is the Lazarus section?
Go down to.
Give me a page number, Jay.
Page number, it is 112.
For those of you following along at home. Page 112. Okay, concluding the adventure? Nope, that's not it. 110, 111, 112. So 112 starts off with the appendix of the Lazari. We got some sexy dudes, or a sexy lady in the middle. We got Buff the Stuff Bagwell. He's a muscular dude carrying a sword. You got a dude that looks like Loki wearing some black armor. This guy looks like, if you know the guy in the green here, if I had to describe him, he looks like a centaur with skull nipples, like he's got like eight sort of skull-headed nipples on his chest, like a puppy or like a mommy dog giving birth, and he's got some axes and some, and then you got military guy with the sword. There's a lot of sword action in this game. You got cyber swords. Yeah. You got, what do we got? We got Jedi lightsabers, or what's
it's swords, and I guess there might be like vibroblades or something to that effect, or maybe there's some specially modified swords. But yeah, this is supposed to represent like these feudal kingdoms. You got these, and these are their feudal champions. These guys, that's what the Lazarus are. If you think about it, the guy in Game of Thrones, the Lannisters, they had the Mountain, the big dude. He was their champion.
I got you.
And this is what they were, and that's what this represents. Now, the woman in that, you're talking about the picture, the woman in the middle, that's Forever Carlisle. She is the Lazarus. They're the Lazarus for the Carlisle family, and she is virtually immortal, and she's adept at like hand-to-hand combat, and she's very, very skilled. The other ones, the green guy that you were talking about there, he represents the Vasilikovs, which are the Russians. So yeah, he's sort of like a butcher. I forget what his, it goes on to tell you who they are. The guy with the behind the line, he represents Bittner. I think that's the Bittner crest, or the Bittner crest, or that might be no, that's the Argyle ones. That's the Argyle crest. They represent like that's like England and whatnot. So that's why that guy looks like he's got a.
I can't remember the name of the TV show, Jay. Lamoureux sort of turned me onto it a while ago. It's a post-apocalyptic show where you have like 5 kingdoms. It's supposed to have like an Asian flavor to it because there's a lot of karate and whatnot.
Oh, is it Into the Badlands?
Badlands. I was thinking Borderlands so I couldn't get it out of my head. This has sort of that feel where you have feudal kingdoms coming at one another, right? But a lot of what they do is I guess because it's post-apocalyptic or whatever, there's not a lot of guns anymore. So is that why they have all the swords and stuff? Like this feels like a futuristic or cyber version of Into the Badlands.
Yeah, that's kind of and the swords. I mean, they have all kinds of technology. Technology didn't halt. In fact, this show. I mean, not this show, but this goddamn RPG or the setting really is very futuristic. In fact, these are probably very enhanced swords. And they have like cyber. They have nanotechnology and all kinds. I mean, this is very futuristic. So it's not post-apocalyptic in the sense that. I mean, there's half the population is gone due to some event, and that's why everything's been it's been consolidated the way it is,
nice.
Broken down the way it is. But not technology. The technology going where, in fact, it's more enhanced now, and that's why they're able to do a lot of this genetic modification. That's why Forever Carlisle is essentially immortal, and that's why the Russian guy looks like that's why he's got skulls hanging off of his chest there, because he's a crazy butcher.
It's very interesting. All right, well, I mean that's us touching on the World of Lazarus. It looks cool. It looks like there's some neat stuff you can do in there. You can get cyber enhancements and gene splicing and genetic manipulation.
And there's a wealth of campaign stuff to run. I mean, if you like political intrigue, in fact, I know a lot of, and this is where it goes. Now I remember the goddamn train of thought. There's a lot of people there in that play Age and play Modern Age that barely do any combat. Man, it's all social stunts, and it's a lot of just social exploration and role playing and whatever. And I'm like, that's cool. And like when combat breaks out, it's kind of a big deal. But man, us. I mean, this ain't called the friendly, non-combat, RPG show. We like fighting. So I'm always combat focused anyway, and I'm pretty sure you are too.
When are we going to play World of Lazarus?
Are we
doing that after they rewrite?
Dude, I already set up a theme in Fantasy Grounds. I'll tell you what, if you want, I'll run a 6. I'll run something through it. In fact, I promise you, I'll do this because I already got it set up. Let's do it.
Wow.
If you want to.
Well, we do the Sunday morning gaming group. Why don't we do a little interjection in between the wrestlings on one of your turns then? Let's.
What else? That sounds good to me. Also, speaking of which too, and I wanted to touch base on this before we get into Deadlands real quick. Pete Jones was talking about. Didn't you strong arm him into running Vigilante City?
I tried to because I want him to run it ICRPG style. I'm curious to see how superheroes gets played in ICRPG, which is going to be super interesting. Maybe we can trick Lamoureux into coming and playing with us one time.
Well, that would be awesome too, because man, I like if he's willing to run it, I'd be happy to play it because I never get to play in the damn Supers RPG. I always run them.
That's kind of cool.
You know,
all right. Well, let's put a pin in the World of Lazarus and head over to the other deal that we were going to do there. So
let's do the other whatchamacallit.
The other whatchamacallit. I'm going to unmute this button and smash this thing again. Oh, that's fantastic. It's got to ultimately be my favorite deal there. All right, we're going to fade that sucker out, and we're going to get over and talk about a little Deadlands. Dueling. We've been talking about dueling. Deadlands is coming out pretty soon. I'm excited for it. Dueling is one of my favorite things. I've had some of sort of my most, not sort of intimate's not the word I'm looking for, but intense moments in role playing. Yep. When you're you're eyeballing down another player, you know that their lives are on the line. You get to call them out, call them all sorts of names, say funny things to them, and try and trick them, taunt them, and give them the funny faces. Mm-hmm. So we're gonna do a little bit of a comparison here. I think I got my Deadlands player's guide out here.
Do you have your old one or your new one?
This is the old one. We're gonna start with the old one because this is the thing that I was talking about before.
All right, you go with the old one because you know that one better, and I got the new one laid out right over here. And I got the new one up and ready to go.
So when you're old school dueling, what you're used to in the old style duel is like a 4-step process. Now, if you look at the duels, they start on page 88 in the player's handbook, and then there's like a little bit of chitter about how what a duel is and how it works, and what the stakes involved and stuff like that. And then it goes into the steps. You got the face off, and then you scroll down and you start reading through all of this other stuff. You got the luck of the draw. And then you go past all of that stuff and you're like reading reach for it, and you're reading swapping the lead, and then it goes into the gambling section. Now, if you're like me and you're kind of focused on what you're reading, these little sidebars here are the things that you sort of go to, or I don't really read them at the same time. I'm reading the text and getting through the section, and I'm thinking this is just a little side fluff. So I read all the rules and I'm like, man, these are sort of long and convoluted. And then I looked at this thing and I'm like, here's a little go-to side tab deal that sort of tells you in 4 short, easy steps how you run the duel. So you start with the face-off. In old school Deadlands, you're going to lay down 2 face cards, whole cards, upside down. Those are your little pocket cards, right? Nobody gets to see them. And each duelist is going to roll intimidation or taunt and compare the results. So if you tie, give each duelist another face down card and then roll again. Otherwise, remember who wins for swap and lead. So that's step 1. You get 2 cards, you do an intimidation taunt, whoever wins gets an extra card. Luck of the draw. Deal 3 cards face up. This is they call this the river in poker or something like that. That's
that right there. Yeah, that's the flop.
Right, the flop. So you're gonna.
Texas Hold'em, the first round of cards, you drop down 3, and that's called the flop.
So in this section here, when you're dealing the cards, anytime you lay them down one at a time, and you give the 2 duelists the time to yell shoot if they want to go, to reach for it or whatever. Or sorry, I'm kind of screwing it up here. So that you deal 3 cards, you flip one over of the 3, and then either duelist can say shoot. And then you go to reach for it, which is the part where you're going to draw your guns. But if they don't say shoot, you flip another card, and so it kind of adds tension to it. You know what you got in your hole, and a card comes up, and if you think you got a better hand than your opponent, you're going to yell shoot so that you can get some kind of advantage when you're trying to blast them. Mm-hmm. That makes this old school thing really kind of an interesting sort of play because it's sort of based on your cards, and there's a little bit of chess and a little bit of mind play to it. But when it comes right down to it, it's really about what kind of, how good your hand is. So if you decide to go for shoot, then you take it to step 3, which is called reach for it. So each duelist decides to go for speed or accuracy and swap and lead. Now, all you got to do is say, I'm going for speed or I'm going for accuracy. There's no roll to determine which one you go for. The duelists show the best 5-card poker hand that they can make from the face-up cards and at least 2 of their whole cards. Now, remember, jokers are wild, so that comes into play. Now, whoever has the highest hand is going to be the person to shoot first. And there is a list of cards that go by, the lowest hand to the highest hand. Anytime you beat somebody by a hand level, you're going to be able to add a D6 to your shooting. I don't know. I think in here it'll tell you that whether or not you can add extra D6s. So a duelist can only fire a single shot. There's no double tapping and there's no fanning. So whoever loses the face-off suffers a -2 to a shooting roll. The duelist with the better poker hand adds a d6 to damage for each rank over his opponent. So could you imagine if you got a straight flush and somebody got a pair and you got like, do you know what I mean? There's 8 slots between you and him. That's 8 extra d6s. Somebody is getting effed up, right? You're coming out of this thing almost from like you're right straight out of Switzerland, man. Just cheese style.
No hope.
So then what happens after that? Once you get all this, you start rolling that up. All shots for speed are resolved at -2. So if you decide to say, I'm going for speed, you take in a -2 to it unless the duelist has the quick draw edge or a quick draw holster. So all shots for accuracy are then resolved if necessary. And then if anyone's still alive, you just sort of roll into combat. I really like this style of duels because it there really is this sort of period of tension when you're like, what's the next card going to be? Is the next card going to be the one that sends me, gives me the advantages on my deal? And then, is my hand good enough that I'm going to have like such an edge over this other player that I'm going to shoot him for 50 or 60 and he's going to hit me for 1 or 2 kind of a thing. So it's not complicated. You do it a few times, you get the gist of it, and things are like, then it becomes actually kind of cool to do. I like the old school rules. So explain how the new ones work, and then we'll do a little bit of a comparison on the two.
All right. So here's what you got here. The new rules, the reason I think I dig them as much as I do, because it actually gives you a chance to incorporate a lot of the newer, SWAT A mechanics into Deadlands, as far as like being able to test your opponent, and you actually get a chance to do so. So what happens here as far as dueling goes is so just like you talked about, before the start of the round, you give, if you got two people that are squaring off, you give each of them a whole card, and that's face down. So don't let them see it. So they start off with 1 card each. And actually, in some edges will, give you bonuses of those cards. So, if you see somebody getting a bunch more cards, you're like, oh shit, I just dealt, then you probably realize that you got in a shooting match with the wrong damn person. So on the first and second rounds, anybody that's in the duel and any bystanders, who might want to get involved, they're dealt an action card, because bystander can participate as well. Like, get him, Johnny. They can do that too and give you a bonus. So like a bystander can add support to it. So you can perform most actions or whatever in the first and second round. The big attack is reserved for the third round. So everything is broken down into 3 rounds now in the new set. So in the first round, you can start you can start using the test. You can start making people distracted and vulnerable. You can keep on doing that until the end of the third round. A raise on a test, it doesn't shake them, but if they get a raise on it, it does stack though. So, or let me see here. This is the attacker. You can either draw a whole card, or you can discard one of their cards. Critical failure when you're resisted a test gives the opponent another whole card. Make sense so far?
So far, so good.
All right. So, like I said, bystanders can support an ally too. So, if there's anybody that's hanging around, like let's say you and I are squaring off, Lamoureux and Stark are playing too, and they decide that they're going to be bystanders, they can support. Let's say Stark's going to support you, and Lamoureux's going to support me. Actually, it's the other way around. Lamoureux hates me; he loves you. So there you go. Stark's indifferent to me; he's indifferent to everybody. So there you go. So that's what he's going to do. So Lamoureux's going to, or he can taunt me because he's really good at not. But he's got a D12 in taunt. But a D4 in vigor can't back up shit, so there you go.
Wow. That's really calling the man out.
But so yeah, if you can imagine what, how this is going down is, the guys are staring each other down, and you can start making somebody intimidate with these tests. And what this is going to do is you can make somebody very distracted and very vulnerable, which is going to, give you a +4 against them, give them a -4 against whatever they're going to do. The third round, here's what happens. At the start of the third round, you don't deal an action card to the duelist just yet. Instead, both characters, they simultaneously reveal the whole card of their choice, whichever one that they had lying down, whichever one's the best one that they want to drop in front of them.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's going to be their action card for this round, the highest one they pull out.
Yep.
So that determines who goes first at the start of the third round.
Yep.
So when you start doing damage,
right.
So when you compare the two now, you can sort of, here's the thing. it's like these are kind of cut and clear, sort of easy rules to sort of figure out, right? You got 3 rounds. You're getting, all you're really doing is taunting and distracting and doing your business, and then it sort of just comes around to when it comes to the 3rd round, you just start doing your blast. You flip your card over, see who goes first.
Right. And if the attacker has one more or an additional Hulk card higher than the foe's action card, you add a single d6 to that you add a d6 bonus die to that damage.
Now,
the first shot.
I don't know if you said it or not, but I think when you're doing your taunt or your intimidate or whatever it is that you're trying to do to distract when you're testing them, if you test with the raise, do you not get another card? So you actually have like a wider variety of cards to pull from your hole? Wow.
So let me double check here. Raise on it says doesn't shake him, but yeah, the attacker can either draw a new hole card for himself or force the foe to randomly discard one of his.
Yeah, reducing his chances by pure chance of having a shittier start on the deal.
Right. So that's pretty cool if you think about it too, because instead of shaking somebody where it's just instead of shaking because it's not really going to matter at this point. What it does, it's a strategic play. You can, like, ooh, I want a new card, or I want to force him to give up one of his.
Right. And so you can see the simplicity of Suede Edition, Deadlands Suede Edition. It's 1, 2, 3 rounds. There's not really too much to it. You basically show up. You stand in the middle of the street. You eye your opponent down. You get a couple of hidden cards, depending on your tests that you're doing. And your rolls determine whether or not you can get a card or take a card away to sort of build your hand. And then, it's just a 1, 2, 3, boom, boom, boom. And you start shooting. You flip what you think is your best card. And then it's draw your guns and away you go. I see why they did it. At least I feel, because it's supposed to be fast, furious, and fun. But I got to agree with Matt. He's like, that's lame. The old rules are way better. I agree that they are. There's tension. Depending on when you're game mastering, how you slowly flip the cards over and you sort of wait to see the reaction of the two people and them guessing their good hands and stuff. But that is a time-consuming way to do it, and I think that's maybe why they did this one this way. It's just bam, bam, bam.
I think this way too. They're incorporating the SWAT mechanics and leaving kind of like the old. I mean, fuck, dude, if you didn't know how to play poker in Deadlands, you were kind of shit out of luck. Like when I first started playing or running Deadlands, and I was playing with, I pretty much one of the people I was playing with, I pretty much had to teach him poker. She didn't know anything about it, and I'm like, no, that's not a good card. I'm like, that just because it's black doesn't mean it's great. And I'm like, no, that's a club and everything like that too. So.
I'm really kind of looking forward. I think we should run a couple of these just for shits and giggles in the Sunday morning game, just to see how they play out.
Should
maybe do a cross comparison or something like that, just for our own information. But
and I'm playing in Eric's Deadlands games right now, but I don't have a gunfighter. Like the guy that I'm playing in, like he could throw his hammer. That's about it.
There you go.
Shit out of
right?
If he's doing.
Do you ever see the movie? It was on Netflix. It's called The Tales of Somebody.
Oh, you're talking about it was The Legend of Buster Scruggs.
Yeah, is that what it was? Yeah. It was a bunch of short stories, the short westerns.
Oh yeah, the Coen Brothers. Oh yeah, I loved it. I loved that movie.
Dude's got
the
cast
Ballad
iron.
Of Buster Scruggs, yeah,
right.
The Ballad of Buster Scruggs.
He's got cast iron pots and pans for armor and stuff.
Oh, that guy was awesome too.
Oh man, that is too funny. Oh,
I should have played that guy in Eric's game. Damn it.
Okay, so we're gonna put that take that off the side. Where's my show notes? We got 20 dueling and Deadlands taunts. You're gonna rate me on a scale of 1 to fail. And here we go. These are 20 taunts that you can use in your Deadlands game when you're going up against your partner in dueling. Maybe you'll get shot in the face. Here's number 1. I'm going to put on my best Western voice too. You got a mouth so big, you won't have any problems chewing on this hot lead.
Ooh, that's scary. Yeah, I like that one. That's a good. That's one that'll.
I'm getting a 1 on that one. That's not a fail.
Yeah, no,
okay.
That's not a fail.
All right,
no, that one's all right.
Number 2, you so dumb you went digging for water under the outhouse. No, you could say fail. You don't have to like.
Be winners. No, they can't all be winners. Move on.
Number 3, Did you get your mama to load your guns for you, little fella?
I actually kind of like that one.
Huh? That's kind of was it?
That's the one. You get a pass. You get a pass on that.
All right, that's 2 points to 1 fail. Number 4, you're so ugly you need to sneak up on your horse to get on it in the dark. Huh?
Oh yeah, that's a good one. That's a good. I'm also grading on authenticity and whether or not this would be relevant. In the Old West, it's not going to talk about quit looking at your phone, cowboy. It's not gonna work.
There's none of that going on. Where are we at here? We're at number 5. When I yell draw, don't go for your crayons.
There weren't crayons in the Old West.
Well, whatever. They had little wax markers and wax seals. Come on. Maybe where they had pencils.
You got better ones.
Okay. Well, how about we change the crayons to pencil?
Pencil's a good one.
All right. I spelled it penicle. Penicl. Okay. All right. Here we go. Number 6. You so dumb when someone said high noon, or you looked around and said to see who they was talking to.
That's borderline genius right there.
Thanks. I appreciate that.
You know what? Give yourself 2 points on that one.
Wow. I'm doing sweet here.
Generous. I'm being awfully generous.
All right. Number 7. Your gun's never fully loaded because you can't count to 6.
Shit. Dang.
Huh? No?
I like the other one better. So
chalk. Bella says chalk. All right. We're going to change that one. When I yell draw, don't go for your chalk.
Right.
See, that's better. Bella gets a point. Nice work. Where are we at here? Okay, so you're so ugly, I went to the outhouse and I thought I saw you looking up at me.
That's definitely. Anytime you go for the outhouse, the outhouses are usually, it's kind of hit or miss. But that one is definitely a winner.
Do you think back in the old day the outhouses in the Wild West were full of like leaves and stuff because they didn't have toilet paper back then? What do you wipe your butt with if you're a cowboy? Dirt?
They use paper. They use some sort of paper.
Don't lie to me.
They use Bible pages.
What are you, some kind of like old cowboy poo professional? Your hand. Crimson Fox is your hand. Oh, man.
Or a bandana. What do you think that bandana's for? I guess it's supposed to keep the dust out of your face, too. But, when you're in a pinch.
All right. Number 9. You smell like the saddle of a cowboy that had beans for breakfast.
Jeez, that's gross.
Yay? Nay? What are we doing?
Yeah, give yourself a point on that one. That was just gross.
All right. Number 10. Your family tree must have been a tumbleweed.
You're doing pretty good on this one, man. That's actually, I like that one. That's entertaining. Give me a chuckle. I'm going to give you a point.
Number 11. You're a $10 hat and a $2 dude.
Yeah, that's pretty standard one.
Okay.
That's good, but it's not as good as the other one. So it's just. I would have heard that one. That's a typical one. That's a standard one.
Okay.
Not your best.
Thanks, pal. You got less friends than a leper at a square dance.
Give yourself a point on that one.
Your mustache. This is number 13. Your mustache smells like your horse's rear end.
Jeez, that's dirty, especially that mustache. Yeah, that one's pretty good.
All right, 14. I got 6 left to go. Looks like you spent your last night alone in your room polishing your pistol. Get it?
Okay. Oh, yeah, I get it now. Yeah, and the other guy's like, he's probably thinking, but what do you mean? Yeah, so that's a good one. That's a creeper up on you.
Right.
There you go.
See,
I like that one.
I'll move this one right up to it because this one just sort of suits what happened. So this is number 18, and then we'll go back. I'd insult you, but it would take you all day to figure it out.
And you were like, no, it won't. You're like, no, hey, yeah. So so that one is sort of like the extra credit one to that one. So yeah, go ahead. Yeah, give yourself another point on that one.
Excellent.
These aren't bad. These are pretty good.
Okay, so we're going back to 15. Rumor has it your horse can count higher than you.
If you would have said that, I'd be pulling lead right then and there.
Wow.
Because I know my horse can't count higher than me. I asked him.
So is that a yay or a nay?
Oh, that's a yay. Yeah. That's a yay.
16.
I'm trying, these. I'm going to comment. These are really sort of like more authentic than I thought you'd be. You're not talking about like these are something you'd actually hear like out in Deadwood.
Thanks, pal. It only took me 3-4 hours to think of these in between doing stuff. 16. Here we go. Them rhinestone assless chaps you're wearing is a good choice for funeral attire.
I knew we weren't going to get a show without assless chaps. I'm telling you what, we need to make a drinking game out of assless chaps. Every time that mentions somebody needs to drink, because assless chaps ends up getting squeezed into a show somehow, and I don't know how. But if you go back and listen to it, there's always some mention of assless chaps. It's not for me, maybe because I got a pair or anything.
I don't know what show you're.
Actually, I'm gonna. That one's not your best.
What?
So.
Oh, what? All right,
Yeah.
17. Here we go. I seen farts get more attention in a room than you.
That's a good one. I like that one.
All right. We did 18, so we're going to skip over that one. We're going to go to 19. This ain't murder. I'm taking out the trash.
Oh shit, that might be your best one.
That one's
intimidating.
That one's good.
Yeah, that one's really good.
All right, here we go. The last one, 20. I don't know where this came from, but 20. Your idea of fine dining is possum gravy poutine.
Possum gravy poutine. Also, poutine gets mentioned here a lot. I'm going to give you just because it's the first time we said poutine. Give yourself a point on that one. That's a pity point, but give yourself because it's poutine. And
all right, I think
get a cheap laugh.
I stopped counting after number 5. I think I should have probably got you to keep track.
You did quite well. In fact, I want to say there's probably about only 5 5 or 6 that I didn't think were all that great, but everything else I thought you got rated on authenticity and whether or not they made me chuckle. So there you go. So,
all right.
Also, I'm easy too. I chuckle just about everything you say too.
I know. I think you're high right now, to tell you the truth, right?
When am I not?
Right. Fair enough. All right. That's going to conclude this show. So we're going to smash the outro right here. Hopefully this is going to play properly. And I got to make sure that I unmute this thing. And then I got to crank the volume up right here. And then we're going to do this again. Here we go. Oh, yeah. Oops, I think I might have gone too far on that one, Jay. So we're going to pan this sucker out, man. That's it for this edition of the Murder Hobo RPG show. We hope you enjoyed it, and if you didn't, we don't care.
If you're interested in submitting to community questions, which we have not done in forever, so maybe, what the hell. But anyway, if you want to submit your questions to community questions so you can hear us poke fun at you and otherwise not answer them, you can do so at murderhoboshow@gmail.com. Otherwise, send your hate mail to cowboysaddle.
The cowboy bean saddle.
Yeah, cowboy bean saddle. That's what it is.
Oh my God. You can also get us on Twitter at The Murder Hobo Show or on YouTube at The Murder Hobo Show, where I show you how to make 3-dimensional battle maps for role-playing in Tabletop Simulator, the absolute best, and my personal favorite, VTT, among other stuff. There's a bunch of other things, paper minis and whatnot, that I touch on. In fact, I'm almost thinking, Uncle Jay, it's time for me to redo a paper minis video on my channel.
Actual paper minis or things that you're going to do in Tabletop Simulator?
Nope, actual paper minis. How to make them in real life and explain the different styles between pogs and stand-ups, paper standees, two-sided flat minis, try the tri-cube style. Maybe do Please do, because I'm starting to wonder whether or not I want. I mean, because I got a bunch of terrain, and hopefully that when things get back to normal a little bit, I can actually break out a game in person. And I'd like to be able to have, even though I have a crap ton of Pathfinder pawns and whatnot, I can't have enough, man. I'd like to see what you do, man. You work a little bit of magic. Really looking forward to the Suede. Suede is supposed to be coming out with the cardboard minis that you could have got if. I'm looking forward to seeing how those pan out.
Those,
so.
Man.
All right.
And what's cool about these ones, they're actually contoured instead of like the Pathfinder ones with just like a rounded shape. These are actually contoured to make it.
Yep, they spent the extra money to get the nice cuts. Cool. Yeah, that's pretty sweet. So yeah, you can watch me do this stuff live on Twitch at the Murder Hobo Show. I don't really do times. You're just gonna have to be around when it happens because I got a schedule that I just can't keep up to. Your best bet is to catch us over at MeWe if you want to chat with us. And as always, you can find us, find all the great nerds from the Nerds International shows on MeWe as well. For examples, such classics as... Who are we talking about today, Uncle Jay?
Oh, you don't promote the Wild Die podcast, but I think you ought to promote the Wild Die podcast, even though it's yours. But, what have you guys been talking about, like, over there? If you haven't been catching up with the Wild Die podcast, Well, number one, you're ignorant if you haven't been doing it. But what have you guys been talking about over there?
The Wild Eye podcast is a Savage World specific podcast run by the one and only, the world famous poutine-eating Frenchman, Eric Lamoureux. He's one of my favorite people in the planet. We talk about Savage Worlds from start to finish. We picked up a new format where we're doing a little bit of a short show. And so, yeah, just a little 30-minute blurb that we got running on there. Usually that's about how long we like to keep them. We've recently been doing some segments. Our new co-host, Carl Kiesler, is he's a true treasure, man. This guy is he's like an art, like he does art layout and stuff like that. I can't remember what you call them, but he's famous, literally world famous. And we got him on the show, talk about how he builds games, puts his groups together, comes up with his ideas and stuff like that. And we totally missed the post on this one because I was yammering so much there. So check out the Wild Eye podcast. That's the other podcast I do. I'm going to go back here and throw some beats under this.
It's very excellent. It's very excellent.
There, I'll see. I threw some beats back up.
There you go.
All right, read the blue part, Jay. You read the blue part. So come on, buddy.
Yeah,
Get it.
So, hold on, man. I can't. You're echoing in my ear. So you can find us. You can find the things we discussed here in the show notes, organized most recent at the top, over at murderhoboshow.podbean.com.
Fantastic. Thanks for listening. Be sure to tune in next time. We're going to have another action-packed show where we're going to talk about things we know little to nothing about and sound professional doing it. Have a great gaming week. We are out of here. Say goodbye, Uncle Jay, while I reach down here and move the slider forward so that it sounds like we're going to hit the post.
Okay, yeah. And I'm going to say goodbye like this. Goodbye.
And that's how you hit the post.
Goodbye.
All right, adios, folks. That's it for this show.
The Murder Hobo Show is not affiliated with or endorsed by any companies mentioned on this show. Any of the products mentioned on our show or appear on our website are the property and copyright of the respected owners. All items are used under fair use for educational and review purposes. All other items are the intellectual property of the Murder Hobo Show, copyright 2020, all rights reserved.